That should be your show. That should be your life's work.
Okay, so think more with the heart and less with the head.
Some other people may just want to hold you back because they're jealous. Those are the people that you need to dump from your life.
You know, I didn't really realize this was a big part of my life until obviously I went further into my own self-reflection journey. But, you know, self-belief has been, I think, something that I've always actually had a lot of. I've had a lot of my own struggles, like with anxiety and need for acceptance and, you know, a whole list of things that we all struggle with. But, you know, self-belief is something that I feel like I've always actually kind of have. And then I've looked out to my friends and I said, oh yeah, this is a really fundamental, it seems like, piece of the puzzle here. And so when I saw your thing, Believe Nation, and this idea of self-belief is the cornerstone for everything, like I was really interested in asking you, you know, how does someone like me with who's always had self-belief come into the world and try to help those, you know, gain it, basically, right? How does someone gain self-belief, and how does someone like me who says, hey man, you can do this, without, you know, giving some sort of corny, cheesy advice on life, right? So I'm just curious on like how you go into the world and helping people, you know, believe in themselves. That's kind of the foundation of what you do.
Why would you make that? Like, why that instead of something else for you?
Why do I want to help give them self-belief?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like it is kind of the cornerstone for a lot of things. I feel like people will try things and they fail and they say, see, look, I knew I couldn't do this, or they're afraid to jump in because they don't really think they're worthy enough. And it seems like there's this underlying layer of pretty much every successful person I've interviewed on this podcast who says, yeah, man, I just didn't quit and I believed in myself. And that answer comes up so many times, but I don't know how to teach that or how to instruct that to people.
What was the thing you struggled with the most as a human? Emotional pain
on my journey?
Yeah. Like, if it's not self-belief, what's the thing that you really struggled the most with?
Definitely stepping into my own identity and my own path.
Okay.
And that led to, I guess, really a series of, I guess, anxiety and just not being sure on what I want to do with life. I mean, basically, I studied abroad for 6 months in Thailand, and that was kind of the kicker for me, which really kind of punched me in the face. Was like, dude, you've been going down this other path sort of this whole time, even though you kind of knew it wasn't for you. And that was the big eye opener. When I came back from that experience back to the same exact environment that I was in, I still didn't make the change. I was still doing kind of the traditional route. And for me, it started to just eat away at me. And that was probably the hardest year of my life, where I, for the first time in my life, had a lot of anxiety. The first time in my life, had social confidence issues, just really was trying to figure out who I was, but I didn't feel like I was presenting that person to the world.
That's what you want to help teach people.
Yeah.
You just rewind the tape back, listen to the replay, and just pay attention to those two segments. Segment 1 was you talking about belief, and segment 2, you talking about finding your path and the anxiety and just your vibe, your energy, even looking at you right now, smiling as we talk through this. It's just, it summons different emotions in you. That's the thing that you want to do. The first one is too logical. The second one is where your heart actually is.
Oh, okay. I like this. Okay, let's keep digging into this. Okay, so you're basically, this dives into teach what you've been through. That sort of concept. Is that what we're getting at here?
On a practical level, yes. I mean, people won't connect to you if you're just naturally good at it, because they think, oh, but he's never struggled with this, so he doesn't know what I'm going through. And they're right. Like, you're doing it because you think it's a big problem, but there's lots of big problems. Like, why not help people with nutrition, or help people with their working out, or help people with learn English? Like, there's lots of things that are big problems. You just happen to pick belief because, you know, some of your podcast guests have come on and talk about it. But listen, if you talked about finding identity, they have stories to share about that too.
Right. Interesting.
That should be your show. That should be your life's work, is helping people find their identity and deal with the anxiety of feeling whatever you were feeling, of not feeling good enough, of not knowing where to go, of not knowing your path, of whatever you actually went through and came out on the other side, is the thing that you want to help teach other people. That will fill you up for life. Like, that's going to be just way more interesting for you than belief.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm the belief guy. It's in my videos. It's on the back of my hoodie. Like, dude, I don't want to knock belief. I think it's the world. I think it's everything. But it's everything for me. It's not everything for you. For me, it's my love. For you, it's a strategy. And that's a big difference. Right. So for you, you got to find your love and then apply strategy to it instead of the other way around.
Yeah. Okay. So think more with the heart and less with the head. And again, a corny, cheesy sort of summary.
No, but here's it. It's big decisions with your heart and small ones with your head. You still need your head. Your head will help you figure out how to win. But your heart is the ultimate arbiter of what decisions you should be making. So this is a heart decision. Like, this is a heart decision. Now your head takes over to say, okay, well, if we're going to try to build this movement around finding a path and relieving anxiety. Okay, so now your head kicks in. Okay, I need to have guests on that talk about this. I need to create different Instagram content than I am right now. I need to start a YouTube channel talking about this. I need to share my own story more. Like, your head takes over to help you figure out the pieces, but you're solving the right puzzle. Yeah. Right? Otherwise, you're solving the puzzle, but it's the wrong puzzle. It's not the puzzle you should be solving, right? So big decision with your heart and small ones with the head.
How does someone tap into that heart more? Like, as a high school or college or recent graduate, like, even think about myself, right? How do you tap into that? I feel like there's a lot of subconscious going on. We don't really have full awareness around what's going on in your life as a young kid. How do you tap into that heart and what's going on there?
So there's a couple things, and I kind of primed you through some of them without talking about it, so we can dive into it. First is, you asked me a question. I just flipped it on you basically to say, because why did I do this? In how you asked me the question, I realized he doesn't actually care deeply enough about this thing. So instead of answering your question, which was, how do I get people to believe in themselves more? I asked you, what was the hardest thing that you went through? Because ultimately your purpose comes from your pain. Whatever you struggled the most with as a human, emotional pain, not like I broke my finger or my arm or something. Like emotional pain. When did you feel the most anxiety, the most stressed out, the most worthless, the most didn't fit in, right? Inside of that is your purpose. It's just, that's how we are wired. You want to help other people. If you knew that your work could either help people believe in themselves more or could help people find their path and not have to suffer the anxiety that you suffered, that's an easy pick.
Right.
So how did I get there? Well, step one was asking you, what is the biggest pain that you went through? What did you struggle the most with as a human? And you could have answered lots of different people's stories all over the map. Maybe it's abandonment issues or abuse issues or lots of other stuff, right? This was yours. The next step is pay attention to the interaction. So pay attention. That's why I encourage you should actually go back and watch this episode, the first 5 minutes of it, not for editing, but just for yourself, and see how you talk from your head about changing people's self-belief. And then from your heart and the smile on your face that comes up, and how much more meaningful the words are when you talk about finding your path and anxiety. So paying attention to that. Now, I'm catching it and throwing it back at you, right? Now it's how do you do it for yourself? It's trying to pay attention to the feelings that you have. Like, when you feel motivated, pumped, excited, when you have that smile on your face, when you get an idea, chances are that's the right idea for you, but it often doesn't make sense because your head only understands a world that currently exists. Right. Where your heart can create something brand new that's never existed before. Your head's designed to keep you safe, practical, and grounded in reality, where your heart wants to go off and build something brand new. So you get these ideas. Oh, I want to go do that. And you get all excited by it. And then your head takes, oh, you can't do that. Come on. You don't have the money for that, or the schooling, or the parents, or the family connections, or the whatever. And then you stop doing it. And so it's learning to trust those ideas more, not knowing how it's going to work out, and just saying yes to the opportunity.
So is that the belief part of it right there, what you just mentioned? Is that the self-belief aspect of, I'm talking about, you can talk about your journey now. Like, what did that, because I'm curious, what did that look like for you as someone who needed to build that within himself?
So for me, my biggest fear is disappointing people. I feel like I'm going to show up and not deliver. The idea that somebody would, somebody would buy my book and say that was a waste of time and I wasted my money on it, right? Or they would come and have me as a guest on their show or speak on their stage and I would blow it. This just kills me.
Yeah.
And so that's lack of belief. It's lack of self-belief that I'm going to come in and crush it. And it's an ongoing thing. This isn't just something that used to happen. And same thing for you. If you talk about finding your path, you still have to find the next version of your path.
For sure.
You're not done. You're more ahead than where you were before.
Yeah.
But you're not done. And you don't want to be done. You always want there to be a path ahead, right? You don't want to say like, this is it and I'm done. That's the end of a journey. You always want there to be a new twist or turn on the path. And anytime you feel anxiety, this is where your head and your heart can fight. You might logically think, ooh, like my podcast is taking off. This is awesome. I'm crushing it. But you have anxiety. It's because you have to take a different path.
Yeah.
You're ready for the next path, even though logically, like it makes sense to stick on this one. You don't actually want to be there anymore. You haven't adjusted enough and you need to be playing over here. So that's how it shows up for you. So anytime you feel these realms of anxiety, it's going to come back. It's not like you have an anxiety. If you have an anxiety-free rest of your life, you actually hate your life because you're never growing, you're never learning, you're never doing anything outside your comfort zone. You're basically just photocopying every day over and over and over again.
Right.
So the next time you feel any kind of anxiety, that's a physical sign for you that something needs to adjust in how you're walking your path. And that's great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it was terrible when you went through it however long ago, 2 years ago or whatever. But now you can catch it faster. Now it's not going to take you however long it took you in the slumps to figure that out. And this is how you react to it. And so you can get out of it a lot faster and then just find the next version of your path.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, well, let's keep this on me because it sounds like this is how you like to approach this, which is kind of fun because no one's really taken this like shoot back approach. So at the beginning of my journey, and still is, but as you said, it's gotten a little bit better. Like, I think the reason why I didn't jump into it was like need for acceptance has like driven, I think, my entire life, which I never really realized again. But like, it was so hard for me to go out into the world as like this entrepreneur, as this person who wanted to do things to help people because I was afraid of what my dad would say, what my friends would say, what everyone would say. And I think one of the reasons maybe why I wanted to have a ton of friends in the first place was to just feel accepted by everybody. And it's not inherently a bad thing to want to be friends with everyone, but you know, it still gets at me. Like it's still this need for acceptance and this idea of
because they prevent you from walking your path.
Yeah.
And some of them actually do, and some of them it's just a mental trick. Like some of them, they actually would support you. You just don't think they would, or you're afraid of telling them. Because I've got this, I'm a visual thinker. So now I've got this like cartoon in my head of there's like all these people walking on this highway. And then there's Tim, like, who wants to go off, on his own super speed highway. That's one lane. And everybody's trying to like hold on to him to say, no, don't leave. Like, I want to go run. Anyway, that's that's how my weird brain kind of thinks. But, yeah, sometimes it's out of love. Like, I'm sure your dad loves you, right? Probably. There's a good chance he loves you. So why would someone who loves you tell you not to do this thing, or even that's a fear? Well, because his version of success is probably different than yours. How old are you right now?
23. Great.
The opportunities available to you at 23 compared to your dad at 23 are vastly different. It's a different world. He couldn't have followed his passion. He couldn't have walked. He had to be crazy to walk his own path.
Yeah.
You had to basically not be able to fit into a corporate environment when he was 23 to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
The idea of starting a podcast and interviewing people is such it's not possible. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Even for you 5 years ago to think that you'd be doing a podcast interviewing people that you look up to is bonkers. So that's the empathy part. Like you crave your father's acceptance, but he loves you. He's just as worried for you because he doesn't understand what is open to a 23-year-old right now because his life is different. So he wants you to be happy, but his version of happy is go do this safe path.
Yeah.
So that's half. That's one group. And that could be friends, family. That's your dad, your mom, your, some uncle, whatever, some friends from high school. Some other people may just want to hold you back because they're jealous because they took their shot and it didn't work. And now nobody around them can have success because it makes them look bad. That seeing Tim go off and win means that I suck. And so I can't have Tim win because that makes me feel bad about myself. And those are the people that you need to, that's not out of love. That's out of insecurity and jealousy. And those are the people that you need to dump from your life. Now, for some people, that's actually their mom, or their dad. That's, you're fortunate to have, parents who love you. So recognizing that that's a limitation is important because staying on the path that everybody else is on, just because everybody else is on it, ultimately is going to lead you to having friends, but hating your life. Because you can't walking your own path is so important to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to be able to have the courage to walk your own path. And it's not to say, screw you, dad, I'm walking my path, right? It's not out of negative energy. It's out of, no, I need to do this for me. And I hope you can support me on my path. And if you can, great. And if you can't, it's not a diss to you. I just need to do this for me.
Right. Right. What did it look like for you walking your own path? Because I know you started with other things and you eventually got to this Believe Nation and this became your work. Like, what did that look like for you finding your own path?
I think the biggest thing for me was the willingness to step in front. So before my YouTube channel, I had a website and I had 100,000 pages of content and I profiled all sorts of different famous entrepreneurs, kind of like what I do on YouTube now, but before there was a YouTube. So I wrote articles talking about Steve Jobs and Oprah Winfrey and all these people. And it was off my name, evancarmichael.com, and it still is, although that content's not there anymore. And people would always ask me, you're telling all these famous people's stories, but what's your story? I'm like, well, why do you want to know my story? Like, yeah, okay. I mean, I sold the business when I was 22 and made some money and stuff, but it's nothing compared to Steve Jobs and Oprah Winfrey and all these people I'm profiling. And so I never really understood it. And then I started my YouTube channel. So I never told my story ever on my website. A little bit on the about page, but never really dug in deep.
Right.
Then I started my YouTube channel, which, your audience might know me from more than the website. And we did a series called The Top 10 Rules for Success, where, again, I profiled just a video version of what I did on my website.
Yeah.
The number one request was me. So we've got thousands of requests that come in, and the number one top 10 that people wanted to see was Evan Carmichael. I'm like, guys, you know what we're doing here? Like, we're profiling all of these giant, Warren Buffett and Elon Musk and all these people. Who cares about me? And it took me a long time, dude. Like, I started that when I was 22, the website, and I'm 40 now, right? This is 18 years to get to here. So it took me a long ass time to get here. And the website and the the YouTube channel is not all about me, but I had to accept that, hey, inside of my story is actually important lessons. People can learn from what I've done and see themselves in me and say, hey, if he could do it, I can do it too. It's why I post on Instagram every month. I'll post my numbers for YouTube of how I started. And it's kind of updated for the most current month because it took me 5 years to get to 7,000 subscribers on YouTube. 5 years. And then the first 5 years was 0 to 7,000. And the next 5 years was 7,000 to 2 million.
Oh, wow.
And I think people just quit too soon, right? They just give up too soon. It doesn't mean it has to take you 10 years. Hopefully you can learn and get better and faster, but there's still a journey and a process. And I recognize it inside of me sharing that story. It inspired others to say, I can do that too.
Right.
And so me being comfortable sharing my journey when I felt like it wasn't enough, it's nothing compared to what other people have done, but it still could be inspiring to people. And it's still awkward. I'm an introvert. So I have no need to talk about me or share my story. Even this, like I'd much rather help you and bounce off of you and what you're going through than make it about me. So that's still something that I work on is owning, that piece and
Yeah.
recognizing that I've been on a great journey. So yeah, that's how it shows up, in my life.
Yeah.
And it's a lot better than it used to be. And I still got a long ways to go.
I love how you share that every month. Like, because that's a big thing that I struggled with when I started. And I know that pretty much everybody my age, this idea of how many likes am I getting compared to this person and how am I doing compared to this person. And again, the more you think about it, it seems silly, but yet it impacts you every single day when you see someone your age who's like, why does he have, this amount of this or this amount of this? And I saw part of your book was like, it really caught my eye because it was like, even Tony Robbins isn't Tony Robbins. Just this idea that like nobody's perfect. And it's funny because when you meet these heroes or people that you look up to, you're like, oh yeah, you're just a human too. But how have, this has been you can speak to me because I've struggled with this too, but it seems like every step of the way you could get into this trap of like, oh yeah, well, Evan has this many followers and then Gary has this many followers and then LeBron James, there's never like an end game when it comes to comparing yourself. Yet I do it all the time. And like, I want to stop doing it. So like, you got any hot advice for me on, and just the audience on how to just run your own race?
Well, even notice your language, run your own race. What's your thing? I want to walk my own path.
Dude, I got some thinking to do after this conversation, man.
It's all coming back to the same thing for you, right? Anytime you feel like you're running somebody else's race or on somebody else's path, you're not going to be happy. This is at the core of all the problems in your life, right? So like pay attention to the wording, pay attention to the feelings and anxiety, and then try to do the thinking work to say, why am I feeling this way? Oh, because I feel like to do that, I have to be on somebody else's path, and I don't want that. So the two things that helped me, one, I actually don't want to completely lose it. I love, like when I passed Gary Vee on subs 2 years ago or something, so here's the thing. I wanted to beat him by, now he doesn't even care, right? And I've known Gary for a couple of years, but it was like the race to million, like who's going to get to million first, right? Who's going to get to million first? And I thought, I'm going to get it before the end of the year. I'm closing in. But Gary was closing in too. Gary, this is like, we're neck and neck. We're like within, and again, Gary probably cares zero about this, but for me, it's like, come on, man, it's me and Gary at the top. Let's go. Like that meant something. I like the competition. And then in this, I realized we're probably going to hit it just before New Year, but you know what's going to happen? Gary is going to take August off and December off because he always does. I knew he was going to take August off and December off, and I was looking at the numbers. It was getting to like May, June, like, oh, it's not a competition anymore. Like I won. I'm going to get there. And I was sad. And it played out, right? Like he went on vacation. His team took over. They did a decent job, but at the time, it really relied on him pumping out his daily vlogs. And so with him easing up the gas, and I was making 3 videos a day, right? It's like, we're not breaking for Christmas. We're not like, we have it all scheduled out. So when I realized that there was no competition, that actually it made me sad. And then like a year and a half later, he passed me again. So they're like, oh, it's great. Like I'm chasing him down again. He's ahead of me and I'm chasing him down, right? And so I like having, it's not everything. It's nowhere. I mean, that's not why I do what I do. Why I do what I do is not trying to chase down Gary Vee's YouTube subscriber numbers. I think the competition, I like having the competition. I like knowing what's possible. I like that there's somebody ahead of me to kind of chase down, right?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that competitive fire. Right? I don't know. I think that's good, but too much of it becomes unhealthy. So what you need to balance it with, because if that's everything, which is for a lot of people, I'm only going to post this if it gets X thousand views or likes or whatever, right? If that's everything, that's unhealthy. You balance it by having respect for the audience that is watching it. So how did I stay going in the first 5 years when I only had 7,000 subscribers? Like, that's a long way to go. And not have any, like, some people get 7,000 subscribers in their first hour on YouTube. It took me 5 years of making content to do it. It's because, you know, if 4 people left a comment on my video, those are 4 people.
Right.
You know, if 1,200 people follow you on Instagram, that's 1,200 people. You know, it may not be 1 million too, but that's 1,200 people. If you were going to do a speech in front of 1,200 people, you'd be peeing your pants in nervousness, right? It's like, that's crazy. That's a huge audience.
Sweet. Yeah, it'd be awesome.
But now, because it's online, now it means nothing, right? So it's just a connection that these are real people, that these are humans who chose to follow me because they like my message, right? So I always, this wasn't even a strategy. I don't know where this came from. It was ingrained from my mom or whatever, but I always just had respect for the people who were following me, that these people matter. And that if your ultimate goal is to help people find their path, if you help 5 people find their path through your content versus 1 million people just give you a like but never do anything, like, what is actually more enriching for you is going to be helping the 5 people find their path.
Right.
So those 2 things, I think putting it as the only thing, having numbers, yes, that's not good. But I think demonizing it and making it 0, I don't think it's actually great, because I think having a little bit of competition, like if I'm you and I look at you know, Alan and Kevin from the podcast, I like that they're ahead of me. It's like, I want to chase them down. I want to show them, hey, I got Evan on my show too, and I'm going to go get this. Like, I just, I like that little, even though it's not the reason why you do it, I like having a little bit of competitive vibe just to see how you measure. Like, I think that's good. I think that can drive you forward.
Yeah.
And at the same time, balancing it with a giant healthy dose of, I am so appreciative for every view, for every comment, that you took the time to press that like button. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. And actually feeling it, that's a human on the other side there who might have drove their car off a bridge, but instead saw your post and didn't. And that's sometimes hard to understand, but I've had comments like that. I've had comments when somebody said, Evan, I was driving in the car. It was like 3 a.m. I was driving in the car and I was going to kill myself. I was going to take my car off the bridge. And on the way, I had one of your videos on, and the message, it wasn't even me talking. Like, it was one of the profiles I did. It made me turn around and drive back home.
Wow.
Crazy, right? I mean, that's one of my favorite comments of all time. But, you know, I've never gone to the point of being suicidal or anywhere close to that. And I never set out for my channel to try to do that. But if you're helping people with their belief, then that's going to happen. Same thing with you. How many people are so frustrated about fitting in, about having anxiety, about not taking their own path, that then they feel like there's no hope and they kill themselves. Like, that's a lot of people. And in hearing your story, that might be the difference for that one night to put away the knife or to not jump off the bridge or whatever. And trying to actually feel that, like, one of those 100 people who liked it, that is actually, some people it's great. Yeah, like, heart, awesome. But for some people who gave you a heart, it actually really touched them in a deep and meaningful way. And if you can actually feel the connection to that, you look at that number and it says 101 likes or whatever, and you feel like one of those people, I know it. I'm one of those people. That's what I default to thinking. Like, somebody listening to this episode is going to be deeply moved by this episode. Not everybody, not most people. Maybe most people have already turned off by now. It doesn't matter. Somebody's still sticking around to the end, and this is going to be the unlock episode that helps them find their path in their life, and I'm jazzed for that. So balancing those 2 things, right? The competition, you already got that. That's easy for you now. You're already looking at what other people are doing. But the other side, the, like, gratitude that people followed you, and that you got 5 likes, and for one person there, that actually meant a huge, huge deal, that thing that you posted. Even if it took you 4 seconds to post it, it had a big impact on them. Dude, why even now, like, on Instagram, I do a lot of video DMs for people. even just saying like, hey, thank you so much for following me. Thank you so much
Mm.
for commenting. Thank you. I mean, I'm blessed. You know, we have so many people. I can't do it for everybody, but the comments back is like, wow, thank you for taking the time to do that. That really meant a lot to me. Or somebody says, hey, can you wish my boyfriend a happy birthday? And say, hey, Rick, happy birthday. Like 8 seconds of my time, but means the world to them.
Yeah.
Being able to do stuff like that to keep you grounded. Because I have 350 million views or whatever. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. What is that? That's the entire US. Like, I don't know what that means. But when you see the tangible, like, this meant something to me, that's why I wake up and do what I do. And I want to beat Gary Vee at the same time, right? It's like it's both of those, right? I think like the healthy balance, right? It's the yin and the yang together working.
I can see both these angels on your shoulders right now.
Yeah,
just speaking into both your ears,
dude. And that's when you need to have the balance of like, if you're only focused on this side of the comparison, then you need to balance the other side. Hey, look, like, let me go look at my last post and look at the comments and realize, hey, this had an impact. But if you just stay here too long, it's easy to get complacent and think you're so great and look at all the work you're doing. No, you suck. Come on, let's go. Like, you're just starting. Let's go, Tim. Come on,
let's
man.
Go.
We need content, man.
It's time.
Right? That's literally how I talk to myself. If I'm being too hard on myself, I have to balance and say, dude, you're awesome. Like, come on, like, look at what you did. Look at these comments. And I might go through my comments and see, or that people liked it. Or if I feel like I'm too good, you know, oh, look, I crushed. Look at these. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? You suck, man. Come on. Look at what Elon Musk is doing. Backup plan for the planet. You got 2 million subscribers on YouTube. Come on, let's go. What are we doing, Carmichael? Like, this is literally how I'm talking to myself. But usually we perpetuate the thing that we don't want. Like, you make this devil bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You don't have the other side to balance it out. Where I want to flip it to make it equal.
Dude, you're blowing my mind right now. Like, I got emotional when you were talking about the whole save someone's life, and then you're like this. It's like a coaching session, because I'm thinking about, like, I'm reading The Alchemist again right now for like the 5th time, and I'm like, why do I love that book? It's literally all about following your own path. I'm like, oh my god, this is insane. And my final, okay, I know we're over. Do you got you got a dip?
Yeah. Quick. What do you got?
Okay, this is my last question. It's actually hilarious because it's also about this, and so. With the whole like dream life, dreamology concept, I wanted to look up what the definition of the American dream was to see like what it was. Okay. And so I'll read it to you quick and have the final question.
Okay.
And so the American dream is the belief that anyone, regardless of where they were born or what class they were born into, can attain their own version of success. And the hilarious part is that the part that stuck out to me is attain their own version of success, which means that the American dream is not this standardized concept. It is your path to follow, Evan Carmichael. So I am curious what your version of success looks like at the 40-year-old that you are. What does success look like to you?
I want to wake up every day and feel like the work that I do matters. So fortunately, most days I get to do that, but I want to push for even more meaning and contribution, right? So, you know, on a day like today, we're recording this on a Thursday. That's what I call my public facing day. So I'm naturally an introvert. You know, I have no need to hear myself speak or be on camera or anything else. But Thursdays I dedicate to being on other people's shows and podcasts and Skype calls and just anything that requires kind of spreading the message and trying to reach a new audience. And it's always a mix, right? Like, you know, tomorrow I'm doing a thing with Kevin O'Leary. I'm doing something for his YouTube channel. And today I was somebody's first guest on their show too, right? So it's not just about how many people are we reaching every time we're doing something. I want to wake up, and I think most people do too, that you want to wake up and feel like today matters. Like, you're going to make something today that's going to touch somebody else's life, that's going to have meaning, that's going to make an impact. And if I do that, then that's success. And sometimes that's hitting a big audience, and sometimes that's just spending time with my wife or my dogs. But feeling like your work matters and therefore you matter. And it's no surprise that that's what stuck out to you in the American dream. And I think it's a big unlock. If you look back now, you look backwards at all the books that you've loved and the movies that you've loved and the songs or the lyrics that stand out, it's all going to have some version, different words, but some version of that. which is great awareness. And it's not that those are bad words, but I never looked up the version of the American. I've never even heard of what it is, and probably people have read it to me, but it never stuck out. This because I'm different. I'm not Tim, but you can use that as a tool going forward to now hone your own path even sharper, and then also to help other people find their path by bringing on guests. Like that should be your first question. What was the hardest part in finding your path? Like for every guest. And that will just lead to a wild, awesome, amazing conversation. Yeah.
If you want to see another awesome interview I did, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.